Good morning, church. It is Thursday. I'm at my house again this morning, my apartment. It was pouring when we tried to leave this morning, and I thought it might go a little better if we waited until the rain slowed down a little bit. So I'm gonna light a candle for us. It smells nice. Good morning, Danny. Lavender and bergamot. Love that thing. And so grab your coffee. Good morning, Charlene. How are y'all? What's going on in your worlds today? We're getting weather. Not excited about all the rain. Looks like it's gonna stretch for a little while. I guess at least it's been warm. I'm glad you all have joined me. I'm glad we can share this space together. Especially the way things have been going, just a little bit stuck. So it's nice to share this space such as it is. It is, Charlene. It's hard to appreciate it being warm when it's raining outside. Reading in the daily lectionary this morning. The daily lectionary sort of fills in what we don't get in worship. So I thought some of it is interesting, what we don't actually read in worship. So let me read for you today from Acts 27, 1 through 12. So we read here in Acts that Paul was a prisoner and being transported by sea to prison in another place, away from Palestine, away from sort of the eastern part of the Mediterranean and Aegean Sea. It's a little bit, one of these days I'm gonna get a map out for y'all. It's a little easier to show you that way. So when it was decided that that's Paul and the boat that he was on, were to sail for Italy, they transferred Paul and some other prisoners to a centurion of the Augustan cohort named Julius. Embarking on a ship that was to set sail to the ports along the coast of Asia, we put to sea, accompanied by Aristarchus, a Macedonian from Thessalonica. The next day we put in at Sidon, and Julius treated Paul kindly and allowed him to go to his friends to be cared for. Putting out to sea from there, we sailed under the lee of Cyprus because the winds were against us. And after we had sailed across the sea that is off Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra in Lycia. There the centurion found an Alexandrian ship bound for Italy and put us on board. We sailed slowly for a number of days and arrived with difficulty off Cnidus. And as the wind was against us, we sailed under the lee of Crete off Salmone. Sailing past it with difficulty, we came to a place called Fair Havens, near the city of Lycia. Since much time had been lost, and sailing was now dangerous because even the fast had already gone by. Paul advised them, saying, "Sirs, I can see that the voyage will be with danger and much heavy loss, not only of the cargo and the ship, but also of our lives." But the centurion paid more attention to the pilot and to the owner of the ship than to what Paul said. Since the harbor was not suitable for spending the winter, the majority was in favor of putting to sea from there, on the chance that somehow they could reach Phoenix, where they would spend the winter. It was a harbor of Crete facing southwest and northwest. So, in this story, which I think is has some interesting things going on, Paul, in Paul's own way, is trying to tell the people keeping him prisoner what to do and how to sail and how to do what they are supposed to be in charge of. And I think Paul has a little bit of a habit of that. But I think that he understands that the pilot and the owner of the ship that they're on really has a more vested interest, of course, in the cargo that they're carrying, more than the prisoners and the people aboard. So in the second half of this story, which doesn't get read, it's in the daily lectionary for tomorrow. It's a spoiler alert. So what happens is Paul is visited by an angel that says, this boat is going to lose all of its cargo, but all the people are going to make it. And so I think that that's a good lesson for Paul. I hope the people in charge of the ship really learned something from that. But I think it's interesting that Paul says, you know, you're going to lose your cargo and you're going to lose prisoners and the people aboard. We're all going to die and you're going to lose your cargo. And it doesn't seem to make a difference. So, not that I'm that sure that Paul knows very much about sailing, but I'm sure that seeing the weather and knowing that it's dangerous to sail is not is sort of easy to look outside and see. Just like we can look outside and see that maybe waiting for the rain to let up is a good idea. Sort of Paul leaving his lane, I guess, kind of reminds me of Jesus calling for the first disciples. They were fisher people, of course, at least in Luke. And he says that he will make them, Jesus will make them fishers of people, fishers of men. And they had no skills for that. And they didn't know what they were doing. And it turns out one of those fisher people, one of those fishermen becomes, you know, Peter, the rock on which the church is built. So I think that's a good lesson that perhaps staying in your own lane is not the Christian thing to do, that being a follower of Christ maybe asks us to leave our lane and be something different even than we're good at or that we've always done. Especially in a time when the world is so much different than it was just, you know, a few weeks ago. I'm not that sure that we have a lane. You know, people want to mind their own business, but I think it it takes a little bit of minding other people's business for us to get through this. And so picking up the phone and asking people how they're doing is an important and compassionate thing to do, and stepping in and making sure we're taking care of our neighbors is sometimes a courageous thing to do. So I was reading a devotion this morning, or an email from my seminary, and it talked about how getting through this really takes our whole community, and whether you are caring or whether you are being cared for, the whole community is sort of part of what's going on, and it's okay to be either one of them. It's okay to be both at different times in this sort of strange time that we're living in. To end this, I know some people are keeping themselves busy, but if you are not, one of my favorite podcasts I've mentioned before is called What Should I Read Next? And so I thought I would spend a little bit of time telling you all about books I thought might be interesting for you. So I want to highly recommend this one. This is Fragments of Your Ancient Name. Joyce Rupp is the author. It's a daily devotion. It's 365 different names and characteristics of God. And I think I shared yesterday, God is like mother hen, and so much more. And so, for instance, today, God is called Soul Liberator. Come with your freeing love and unburden my barnacled soul, that precious pure essence, that enduring core of myself. Come, release false clutches, those stifling cultural fallacies and adhering personal deceptions that prevent me from being true. Liberate all that hampers me from living authentically. So, anyway, I'm going to show that one again. Fragments of Your Ancient Name. They're very short, takes less than a minute, and something to pray about or think about. The next book I want to talk about is called When Kids Ask Hard Questions. And so I think this is good for not just for parents, not just for grandparents, but when I came to St. Paul's and we talked about family ministry, we talked about how families have all kinds of different ways of being made, and that when kids, that our kids are part of our church family, and that all of us really hopefully parent them and form them. It's why Christian education in recent times has really been called Christian formation, because we form Christians and we help them form themselves. And then I have a few, but I'll just do one more. So I have a knot. I don't think I've talked about this one, so I'm going to. This one I actually got from a class at my seminary, but I think it is maybe an interesting look into our denomination. So it's called The Evolution of UCC Style. It's about worship and theology, but it's very conversational. It's not a difficult read. It's not something you have to sit down and read all at once. It's just a little over 200 pages. But if you have some time on your hands and you're curious and you'd like to know more about the United Church of Christ and what we do and why we do it, which I think is incredibly important. It informs how I preach and what I do. I think this is a good book for people who aren't clergy, who can really dig into who we are and how we see God, and sort of the particular lens of the United Church of Christ, and really the evangelical, there's a little bit about the evangelical tradition from which we come, where we started, which I think is also fairly interesting. It may not be as interesting to you, but these are 3 books that I am loving right now. So I highly, I recommend these. I would love to hear your suggestions. So the next time I do this, maybe I will be able to read some of your suggestions, and I will have some more for you. So I hope you all are well and taking care of yourselves, and I hope that you will be in touch with us. We are making phone calls to everyone in the congregation, so if you haven't heard from us, we may not have your correct phone number. I know a lot of people recently have given up their landlines to go just to their cell phones. So if you have done that, you may want to be in touch with the church office. You can email us at office@stpaulsmonie.org. And if you need anything, please call the office or email help@stpaulsmonie.org. We are, so happy to help and so happy to keep space for you. And we look forward to this during the week. And we look forward to worship on Sunday. We hope you all are looking forward to worship on Sunday with us also. Look for emails about what we're doing, and on the first Sunday of each month we will be doing a drive-through communion, so look for that in June. And so have a wonderful day, and stay dry, and let us know if you need us. We are missing y'all in the sanctuary and looking forward to the next time we can really all be together. Take care. Call us if you need us. Bye-bye.